Red Badge of Courage, Story 3, Brothers in Battle. Henry stood quietly. As the sound of battle grew even louder, shells landed on the ground. There was a small bath of pine needles. The gunshot seemed to whistle through the trees. Smoke filled the air. Henry saw guns glitter in the sunlight. Several soldiers were hurt. One of the leaders of Henry's regiment was shot in the hand. Another man seemed to be going out of his mind. He ran around screaming and crying. The wounded men had to do their best to keep up with the others. There was no bedrooms in which to rest on the battlefield. Wild calls came from behind the far-off wall of smoke. Henry watched as the soldiers ran for their lives. He stared at the men's faces. The young private wanted to see the terrible things that the men were running from. Maybe he would run too. Henry thought about how he used to wait for the circus parade back home. 1,000 colors and pictures flashed into his mind. Someone cried, "Here they come!" The tall soldier, Jim, had his gun ready. Then he took out a red cloth of some kind. Jim was very busy tying the cloth around his neck when a cry went up and down the line. "Here they come! Here they come!" Gun locks snapped. Across the smoke-filled field ran the enemy. They headed straight for the regiment. Henry trembled. He could not remember if he had loaded his gun. At the same time, the general on horseback appeared. He called to the commander of Henry's regiment. "You're to keep your men lively and don't let the enemy get too close," he said. "All right, I'll do my best," the commander shouted. The captain was walking back and forth excitedly. There was a glitter in his eyes, and he gave the orders to his men. "Hold your fire, boys. Don't shoot until I tell you." The enemy came fast. Henry took one look at them, put his gun in place. He no longer wondered if it was loaded. He fired a sudden wild shot. Soon he was working his gun without any trouble. The young man began to care more about the well-being of his regiment. Its noise made him feel better. They were loud and strong after all. Henry was beginning to feel like an important part of something. It seemed to him that he and the other men had become brothers. They had been joined together for the worthy job. They were truly brothers in battle. For the first time since he joined the army, Henry felt proud. But soon this pride gave way to a stronger feeling. The thick smoke burned Henry's eyes, and he could hardly get a breath. His face was red with anger. He fired his gun over and over again. He wished he could grab the enemy with his bare hands. The young man wanted to put an end to it all. Men dropped like bundles. The captain lay dead. A look of surprise and sadness was on his face. A wounded man held on to a tree. At last the firing began to slow down. Some lively cheers could be heard from the men. The enemy had been held moments to himself. Henry finally had a moment to himself. He looked around slowly. The air smelled bad. He was dirty. His mouth felt dry. The young private grabbed his water bottle and took a long drink of warm water. The men were talking to each other about their good work. To the right and to the left of them were the dark lines of the other regiments. Far in front, Henry thought he could see the light colors of the enemy moving in the woods. There seemed to be thousands of them. Henry heard the sounds of fighting far off in the forest. The young man looked around him. He could not believe what he was seeing. He suddenly felt as if he were looking out his bedroom window. There was a clear blue sky. The sun was shining, the trees in the field. The young soldier was surprised to find that nature went on her way while men died in battle.